How many have I done?
12.
12? Pretty close to the best one, I think. So, yeah, look, we absolutely admire that club that we played today. And I talked to the boys about it all summer, about what Sydney are. You know, it's something we'd love to be able to become. And today, you know, a young group took them on and, you know, weren't intimidated by their physical presence, you know, and just kept playing hard all day. And I'm really proud of the way they did it.
Were you worried they might be intimidated?
No, not really, not with this group. You know, we've had a little bit of a flat spot, but overall I think the group's been really level. You know, and once we've come off the bye, had the good game last week, and our good game was about our pressure last week, and that's what we talked about after the game. It wasn't about the scoreboard and how much we'd won by, it was about our pressure, and you know, we knew we had to bring that again today against Sydney, and they did it.
What sort of statement does that make now about this team?
I think it's a bit about what we've said all year. It's a bit about that we'll stay in the contest. We'll hang tough, and you know, hopefully we'll play tough more often than not. And you know, so far, as I said, given the games that we lost, the 5 in a row, bar probably one quarter against the Bulldogs up in Darwin, I thought even though we'd lost those games, that we'd stayed in the games, and the boys had fought hard in those games. And but certainly today gives them some more belief.
If you can match it with Sydney, what can you do to dream for the rest of the year?
We will dream to play well next week. Unfortunately, that's probably going to be a boring one for you, but that's what we want. We want to play well next week. We want to compete really hard next week, and we want to not worry about what the scoreboard will do. We just want to worry about how we compete. And if we do that again next week, it'll give us a chance to be in a contest next week.
Brad, as a player, what does that mean for the playing group?
Yeah, it was really exciting. Yeah, like Ken said, we've all through the pre-season we did talk about Sydney and how they play and their contested style of footy, and it was great to be able to match them and then be able to overrun them in the end there. So it was great, and yeah, the boys seem to be pretty high on confidence. But like Ken said as well, we got to make sure that we stay pretty level and keep it going from now.
What turned it at half time? You played very well. You were up for the fight all day, but they were dominating inside 50s and clearances at half time, and yet you dominated the second half. What changed the game for you guys?
Yeah, I think Ken just talked to us about making sure that we do start making sure that we get on top in clearances. It was a big indicator, and like you said, it did end up turning into inside 50s, and so I think that yeah, we seemed to fix that up a little bit. We were making sure that we were hard on them, pressuring every single possession that they got, and then able to cover the outlets, and then once we got the turnover, we were able to play quick off that. So yeah, it was good.
Ken, even though that you Port won its first 5 games, it's very impressive. A lot of people still doubted you because the feeling was that you hadn't really beaten anyone. So do you feel today that you've made a big statement to the competition?
Well, I think we've beaten a genuine top 4 side today. There's no doubt about that. They're going to be a side that's there at the end of the year, and as I said, we had them in pretty tough conditions, which for us was perfect. You wake up this morning and it's going to be a real Sydney game, and you want to test yourself against the best. And as I said, today we've beaten a top 4 side, and I don't know. I mean, John and his team, they're a great side, and they'll be there at the end of the season. There's no doubt about that. And for us, it's a great a great confidence pill for us to think that, okay, we know how to do it, now we've got to be able to do it week in, week out, and that's what that side does. They do it week in, week out, and they'll do it again.
Can you work through what happened pre-game?
Yeah, it was the old, I don't like making late changes, and I made two in one time. Well, Butch had tonsillitis through the week, and he'd been into hospital on Wednesday and Thursday, and had some antibiotics and stuff to try and get him well, and we wanted to give him as much time as we possibly could to allow him to do that. And we made the decision this morning here at the ground at 11:15. I think I asked Maury to come along for that reason, and we told North Adelaide, isn't it? North Adelaide about 11:25, so we weren't trying to play any silly games with Butch. We were just giving him every chance because he's important to our structure. Big blokes, as the conditions worked out, it probably worked out not a bad one for us. And then Moore came in and played a significant role for us too. And Paul Stewart done it in the warm-up. Hurt his back in the warm-up. So I've only been involved once or twice before where it's been that late a change and uncontrollable one. Luckily enough, we had Campbell here off the bye, who we'd had for as an emergency for that reason, and brought him in. So they both worked out pretty well for us.
So Campbell Stewart sore before today, or just
no, trained yesterday. Backs are funny things. You can get back spasm and it can just go like that, and you don't have a choice. And in fact, Stewie out on the ground said to me, "I think I'm okay," and I said, "No, I can't take that risk." And we weren't going to take that risk. We had Jasper coming in as sub, and I said, "Look, I took a little risk bringing him in, but the risk was we were hoping that we didn't have to worry about activating him too early. You play Stewart from there and you think, gee, if something goes wrong in the first 10 minutes, we might have a double whammy here. We don't want to do that.
And Brad, to captain the club for the first time in a performance like that must mean a fair bit to you.
Yeah, definitely. It was a huge honour for me to be able to captain the Port Adelaide Football Club. Yeah, Russ did it in the past and did it for a fair while there. So to get my one game was great, and to get the win was fantastic. I guess depending on how Boakey pulls up this week, I might take it for a second week, but we'll just wait and see.
And a belief in the group, as you said, you're under the pump for the whole game.
Yeah.
Belief in the group to keep striving, as Ken touched on earlier, obviously that's enormous. Still.
Yeah, definitely, and that's we keep talking about making sure that we play 4 quarters and are consistent across those 4 quarters, and then week in, week out, and so we're able to put those 4 quarters together pretty solidly, and now we've got to make sure that it continues.
Yeah, when did you start putting before the group? What would be the absolute necessity against it?
We talk about contested ball and tackle, and there's very important stats when you play against Sydney, because if you're not prepared to play that style of football, you know you're going to get in trouble. And our group, I think they're really prepared to play that style. They're prepared to play Port Adelaide style footy. That's what I'd call it, and that's contested ball and tackle, and they do that. So we had to do that against the side that was rated 1 in it.
So just jump on my mention the scores from turnovers. So you guys got 9 goals to nothing. How did that come about for you guys?
Hopefully it's good method. More importantly, it's good method. The conditions help you a little bit. That sometimes we probably made the most from with the conditions and got it forward and made it count. But your method to force the turnover is what you worry about. It's not the end. It's not what you do with the turnover. It's not obviously it's important for you to score, but for us it's the method to get the turnover. And we thought we had a really strong method.
Okay, when you talk about behaviour, how does a good side behave after a win like that?
They turn up to work tomorrow. We recover tomorrow. We level about what we do, and we go Monday. And we review the game hard. We look at the game closely, and as players, they'll prepare the same way. And it's an easy game to do that because AFL football is, as of now, we got Collingwood, so we now know we've got a big game in front of us again. So we have to prepare well. You always enjoy a win, though. I mean, even last week the boys were entitled to enjoy the turnaround, and today they're entitled to enjoy that. But tomorrow becomes we're getting ready for Collingwood.
Ken Kane Collins' job on Daniel Hanna had 42 touches here against the Crows 2 weeks ago. Today, Hanna had 13. Great effort from him.
Yeah, outstanding. And last week, Kane, in a different role last week, I think had 34 or something last week. And then I said to him today the number I worried about was the opposition number, and then that was 13, and that's a massive tick. I think everyone would say he's right up there in calculations in this season's best players. And he's Hanbury and Kane should be probably looked a little bit like that too, because his form's been very, very good for us.
Chad Wingard's star continues to rise. His performance all day was great, but to kick 2 ice cool goals in the last quarter.
Yeah, we'll let Chad keep sneaking along. We'd be happy with that. And Chad's really, look, he's a competitor. And luckily enough, he watched the NBA finals yesterday, and that really does excite him when he's seen his star in LeBron play. And I think it was good for Chad to come out here today. And through the week, Chad actually said to me, I love the games against Sydney. Against these sort of teams, I want to compete. And he did it again today. And I'm sure all those fans driving home right now for Port Adelaide would have come to this game and went, gee, Chad was impressive. But they would have also went, there was 21 other blokes out there who played Port Adelaide style of football. And I'm sure they'd love that. And we'll see them all here next week, no doubt.
Does that result tell you then that everyone in your groups now understood what you wanted of them?
Look, I haven't doubted them at any stage. I've pushed them really hard. There's no doubt about that. With the other coaches, we've pushed them really hard. I'm really demanding. There's no doubt. I don't accept them. Perhaps just going away from the task even for a minute. And I think they like that. I think they're a group that want to be held accountable, and they want to get the best out of themselves. So I think together we're probably a good mix.
When you talk about a lot of people, like Brad would know what you mean by Port Adelaide style football. For those who may not understand what you're trying to say there, how do you define it?
I think we did a commercial early in the year that typifies Port Adelaide, and that is we don't give up. We fight and we fight and we keep going. And as I keep saying, the scoreboard's not always going to be in your favour, but there's, I'm sure there'll be a day that we don't quite play the way we'd like to play, but more often than not, I think people would sit back now at this stage of the year and say, well, so far the playing group have lived up to what we said about them, and that is that they'll play, as you said, Port Adelaide style football, and that is not to give up.
We know what Sydney stands for, so what's Port stand for?
Hopefully, exactly what I just talked about. As a club, we're going to compete. You know, we'd love one day that people might, like to say that Port Adelaide do it like we all talk about with Sydney, the way they compete and the way they turn up every week. We know we're miles away from there, but we're just going to keep working hard to get there.
You know you're miles away, but how many miles have you come down the path already?
We've certainly made some. We've taken some ground, I think. In the positive, which is a good thing.
When you say miles away, what do you mean from challenging the top four consistently, or friendships, or that? Just to clarify.
Just behaviour. Every week, every minute. I mean, that's what good sides do. And I said to the boys at three-quarter time, I can guarantee you what Sydney will do in this last quarter. We need to make sure that people would say, well, we can guarantee you what Port Adelaide will do in this last quarter. What Port Adelaide will do, as you asked me before, when they turn up on Monday, on Tuesday and Wednesday next week, that they'll just know that there'll be no carry on. There'll be just a method about what we want to become.
Brad, are you guys more focused?
More focused than what we were in previous.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's.
Bring up the past.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's more focused. I think that we've been able to, with Ken, he's really talked about our behaviours and our behaviours will determine our outcomes, and that's a big one that Ken sort of pushed on the playing group, and I think that the guys have been living by that and really doing that well, and that does mean day off, you come into the club and there's 20 odd guys there doing extras. There's always guys in the recovery area, and I think that sort of stuff has been lifted to another level, and I think that's a big reason.
So what do you think you're capable of now?
Capable of in the season? It's hard to put a place or a position on it. It'd be great to be able to make the finals and play finals, but like Ken's been pushing, it is week in, week out footy, and we've got this tough month coming up with some big teams coming up, and I think that we just got to make sure that we're focusing for the next week.
Do you think the competition now looks at Port Adelaide in a better light?
We'd like to think so, and I think that's the big one that we've been working on, is earning respect back and making sure that we're driving for that respect from the competition, and I think that being able to beat a team like Sydney, it does help, but like I said, it's a hard one to say that we've earned everyone's respect back already. We've got to keep ticking off the big teams.
Ken, if the line last year was that Port Adelaide was becoming irrelevant in the AFL, what's the line at the moment?
I think we're becoming a little bit more relevant. There's no doubt about that. We're in the competition now, and I think everyone would look at Port Adelaide and we look at our badge, and we look at Renault, and we look at David Koch, and we look at Keith, and we look at the 40,000 plus members, and then we look at our footy team, and we say our footy team's backing up all those people and all that work that they're trying to do to make the club back relevant, and I think we play in the AFL competition because we deserve to.
So it's like David says, one thing to talk, but you guys actually walk.
Yep, we have to walk the walk, or the players have to walk the walk, and I can say what I want to say, but they've got to go out there. As I said, I can't help you out there. It's 2 hours, and you've got to do it. Led by the captain today, and they did it.
Thanks, guys.
Had a good day for the club.